Welcome, everybody, to the Niner Fanatic podcast. I'm Peter Lucas, and I've got with me today Brian Carter from Brian Carter 99 podcast on Apple, Spotify. He's also on YouTube. He's got some stuff on YouTube also, so check that out. But really happy to have him here today to talk some off-season storylines and just some of the news that happened today. And then we're going to go over some draft stuff and some different free agency things. And I'm just really excited to talk to him today. So, Brian, how are you doing today, bro? And how are you feeling about all the stuff that happened today?
I'm doing good. I am tired. That's just kind of what happens when you have a full-time job. You try and podcast, you try and YouTube, and you have a puppy. So that's always fun. But the last 36 hours have been glorious for us Niners fans. Especially as somebody who was born and raised in Washington State, like an hour and a half from Seattle. I am just bathing in Seahawks tears. I'm loving it.
Yeah, I love it. I love it. It's I feel like we've waited so long for the Seahawks to feel our pain because we had the up and in Russell Wilson's tenure, we've had the up with Kaepernick and even Alex Smith. And we had our 3 years of good, and then we went all the way down to the bargain basement, and then back up, and now here we are. Russell Wilson is no longer here. Hooray! Yeah. And it's. But what do you think about the trade, and who do you think won that trade?
100%. I think the Broncos won. Sorry, I'm just pulling my notes up here, and I had to retweet this. But I don't think that the Broncos gave up a crazy amount. I mean, Russell Wilson he's been really good against the 49ers. He's been extremely durable. This last season was the first time that he's ever actually missed significant time. Before this season, I don't think he'd missed a single game. And then he busts his finger and he has to sit out for a month or so, which is nothing. I mean, they're basically getting a Hall of Fame quarterback in his prime. 2 first-round picks, big deal. And as far as the Seahawks go, as far as I'm concerned, they're falling apart. I actually think Pete Carroll is a good coach. I don't like to admit it, but I think he's done a really good job considering how badly that they've done with their drafts. So I have zero confidence with them keeping their general manager there, that he's going to be able to use all those draft picks effectively and rebuild. I think that they're probably going to spend and it's not like they have excess draft capital now. They just reclaimed everything that they lost from getting Jamal Adams. It's not like they have an extra first and 2 extra firsts and an extra second. It's cool. Now you have normal amount of draft capital. So Broncos win. And I think now that they're a contender, they've got weapons, they've got defense. It's a really hard division, but I think that's definitely a contending team.
Yeah,
it's a fun division. It's going to be really fun to watch all those matchups.
Yeah, it's I would say that definitely Denver won that trade just because with Russell Wilson on the team, now those picks, I mean, they're going to be lower round picks. I mean, if he does what we all think that he's probably going to do, that team is very talented before he got there. It was just a quarterback away in my estimation. Yep. They've got some issues on the offensive line that I think that they'll probably try to shore up this offseason just to get that. I think that was Russell Wilson's main sticking point with
That's what
Seattle.
He's used to, though. He's used to that.
He is, but he was complaining to the team constantly that they weren't trying to upgrade on the offensive line, and I think he got a little tired of running around for his life, and I think that that's what makes him good. I agree with you. I think that that's what makes him good, and the scramble drill is his bread and butter. So
We hate it, but those final 3 minutes of the
Yeah,
game,
yeah, he's
all
so
bets are off. Just run around and moonball and, deep touchdown to win the game.
yeah, but they do have Jerry Judy. They've got Cortland Sutton.
Tim
They've
Patrick,
Yeah, Tim Patrick, and then they
we've got a
had
really good run game. Yeah,
the
is it Javonte
Javonte
Williams?
Williams. Yep,
He's a
Javonte
stud.
Williams. So, I mean, the pieces are there, and their defense. They've got a nice young defense. From what
Mhm.
I'm hearing, they're probably going to get uh, what's the guy's that the guy
Von
that just
Miller
won with the
back?
Rams. Yeah, it sounds like Von Miller wants to come back. So,
They
I
just
mean,
picked up a couple picks, sent him away for like a half season. They're like, "Come on back. We got some extra picks for you."
you almost wonder if that was the plan, and the
They
way that
seem
it
to
worked
do.
out.
Yeah, no, I definitely think the Broncos are going to be a good team. It's going to be nice not having to face Russell Wilson twice a season. We will have to face him, but I think that the AFC West is going to be must-watch TV with like all those teams matching up. Now you're
Mhm.
getting like Wilson Mahomes, Wilson Herbert, Herbert Mahomes, like Carr's not
Yeah.
bad at all. I mean, that's going to be a fun division to watch those matchups.
Yeah, I really can't wait. I just can't wait to watch Russell Wilson on another team.
Yeah.
That's I mean, and we still have to play him once, just not twice.
Yeah, it's gonna be
So
like once every 4 years though.
yeah,
So who cares? Like I'm all for it. I'm
yeah, for sure.
gonna have a lot
And
of fun going to the Seahawks games.
oh yeah, no kidding. Like
'Cause I
that's
live literally like 2 hours from that stadium, so that's like the one Niners game that I can always make is I can always just drive down to Seattle, catch the rivalry game.
yeah,
So
and
it's gonna be nice going there and not having him out there.
I just think that it's gonna be really interesting to see if the 12th man actually stays intact and people actually come out to the games depending depending on who the quarterback is, because I mean I don't think they're coming out for Drew Lock. Uh,
Yeah.
but but they might come out for the guy that supposedly the rumor is that they're going after Deshaun Watson. I don't think they have enough to get him. I don't think they have what the Texans want.
Yeah.
So it'll be
And I don't
interesting.
think Deshaun would wanna go there because, like, there's nobody on the team. Like, what's he gonna do? Like, cool, you've got 2 receivers and, like, no other talent on the team now.
True that. Like I
And
just
no picks.
yeah, and no
If
picks.
they're
Like
giving
so
everything up for Deshaun.
wherever Deshaun goes, they're not going to have picks. So it's because they're going to have to give up picks to get him,
Yeah.
and so
And
it's
that's
going
if
to have
his
to
legal
really be
stuff
a
gets
ready-made
resolved,
team.
so who still knows what's going on with that? I
Yeah,
haven't
for
been
sure.
following it. Supposedly something's happening on Friday, but
Yeah, yeah. Supposedly Friday we're supposed to find out if they're going to move forward with a criminal
yeah.
case. But I mean, yeah, I don't know. I don't see it. Like I think it's just a lot of off-season rumors, and we're not going to really know when it happens. It's going to be some big news, and we're not. It's going to be somebody we completely we didn't even think about.
Yeah.
So, but
I don't think it's Seattle. I think that they're blowing up and they're trying to restart it, which I'm all for because again, I don't trust the Seahawks front office. So
yeah, they
my
were.
guess is they fail over the next 2 years. Everyone gets fired, and then they're terrible for another 2 years while they try and rebuild. So
Yeah, they were saying in the spaces earlier that because the quarterback class isn't really spectacular this year, that they may just wait because they have the ninth pick, and it doesn't make any sense to take one of these quarterbacks at nine to me in my mind.
yeah,
So they may just trade down, maybe get a pick for next season, and then get a guy next season, and maybe partner some of those picks to get up to the top so they can go for what's the superstar that they think is going to be next season. It's Bryce.
the
Bryce.
Alabama kid like Bryce Young.
Yes, Bryce Young.
Okay.
So we'll see.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, you never really know who's going to be the star quarterback next season. When as
Yeah,
far as like in the draft, you can always project it, but you really never know.
yeah,
But yeah, I agree. I think I've heard that maybe there's like 1 or 2 quarterbacks that have like a back end of the first like grade on them. I haven't watched any of them. My understanding is Malik Willis has the biggest like traits, but he's
Mhm.
also the most inconsistent. And then beyond that, it's like you got the kid with, baby hands, Sam Howell.
Yeah, Sam Howell.
Yeah, and then the Cincinnati kid.
Yeah, Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, Ritter, but it's like nobody thinks these guys are like top 10 talents or anything. It's like, yeah, they're probably second or third round quarterbacks, but someone will get desperate and they'll take one or two in the first round because quarterback.
Yeah, and Russell Wilson was a second rounder, I
Third.
believe, or third rounder. So,
Yeah.
I mean, really, I like Desmond Ritter. I've liked him since last season. I just think that he's in a bad offense for his skill set
Yeah.
at Cincinnati. I think that he's going to go somewhere, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people. Um,
Could be. I haven't really watched, honestly, like at all much of this QB class. The way I look at the draft is who's a potential Niner, where's our draft capital, and
yeah,
then that's where I kind of start my scouting.
yeah, for sure, for sure. Like the only reason I even know Desmond Ritter is because last year when we
Same.
were last year when I was scouting for who we were going to pick at three. Well, first I was looking at who we were going to pick for 12, and I thought we
Yep.
might go second round for a quarterback in the
Yeah.
beginning. So I was
I
starting to
was
look
like,
later.
I like Davis Mills in round two. That was kind of my thought last year. And then we
He
traded
was,
up to three, and I was like, oh my gosh.
yeah, he was in my mocks. I had Mac Jones until we traded up to three,
Yeah.
just because his stock just kept moving up and up and up. So I thought, well, maybe
Yeah.
he'll slip down to 12, but and I know that's not the popular opinion on Twitter. Nobody likes to hear Mac Jones' name, but I thought he would be Jimmy with some added traits. Like I thought,
Pretty much like
yeah,
a Jimmy plus.
yeah,
That was kind of my thoughts watching him was Jimmy plus, nothing super wow, but he can execute an offense and he seems to be poised in the pocket.
for sure,
Jimmy plus.
for sure. Now Aaron Rodgers ended up becoming the highest paid QB and returns to the pack. Now he returns to the Packers for another, I think they said 4 years.
Something like
Uh,
that. 4 years, 200 million, 153 million guaranteed.
yeah, what like in my mind? Okay, so now what do you do? What do you think that they do with Jordan Love?
I really don't know. How many years does he have left? I'm trying to remember. Is he going into his third year? Because
He's
he
going
was
in his
drafted
third.
right after Ayuk. So this would be
Yeah.
going into year three.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I don't know. I mean, they might deal him. I don't know who really is going to spend a lot on him. I think a lot of people pre-draft thought that I think when they drafted him, a lot of people thought that he was significantly overdrafted
Hmm.
in the sense of has some tools, but again, like not polished, not ready. He's going to need a year or two to sit. And he's sat for a year or two, but he's looked terrible. And what has he played? Like 2 games?
Yeah,
In like 2 years, he's played like 2 games and he's looked very bad. So I have no idea what the draft capital is. If people thought like, hey, second, third rounder, and now it's 2 years later and he's looked really bad in 2 games.
yeah,
I mean, maybe if they want to like flip him for like a third or a fourth or fifth and like regain some draft capital and clear up some cap space, but I wouldn't be
yeah,
surprised if they kept him along for one more year.
yeah.
I mean, who knows though? QBs
That's
are
what I
weird.
think. I think that's what happens. I think that they keep him for one more season. I think that they're really going to kind of try and develop him up to an acceptable level, NFL level, and then I
Yeah.
think they'll try to deal him in the offseason.
Yeah,
I
just
just
make
don't.
him look really good in the preseason between this next preseason, make him look really good and then
Yeah,
try and deal him next year.
yeah. He's because I mean, yeah, like you said, he looked terrible in the starts that he had. And what's funny to me about that is he's from. Is he from North Dakota State too?
I think he was out of Utah, if I remember
Utah,
correctly.
Utah. I know he was out of a small school. I couldn't remember
Yeah.
which school he came from, but the thing that he was, I just thought it was weird that he was from a small school, and that they thought so much of him when he really, if you looked at they were showing some tape on JT O'Sullivan's show QB School,
Yeah.
and JT O'Sullivan said that he's not ready. He's not. He gave him. He was saying at the time like that this kid. I don't think that he's even remotely. He's going to be a project. And
I
so
think I
it was.
remember that. And it's just another example of, excuse me, just because you have like tools and traits doesn't mean you're going to be good. Like
Yeah.
quarterback is not just about like, hey, I'm athletic and I have a big arm and I can throw it really well. It's that plus, do you have poise in the pocket? Can you read a defense as it develops? Do you have, the confidence and just that like feel to see something developing and fit it in that window? It's not just,
Mm-hmm.
hey, in college I could run around for 10 seconds because I was out athleting people and then I could throw really far and my guy was out athleting the other guy, so we would just win all the time.
Yeah.
It's QB is just it's there's so much more than just having the physical traits and talents. It's actually, it kind of brings me to a tangent of Carson Wentz. Like Carson
Yeah.
Wentz is kind of like the opposite of Jimmy Garoppolo, where Carson Wentz has, you could definitely argue, more talent,
Mm-hmm.
but Jimmy Garoppolo seems to be more efficient operating an offense. And like the leadership trait, it sounds like is the reason why they moved on from him. But like Carson Wentz, you could definitely argue better arm, more talent than Jimmy G, better athlete.
Yeah, for sure.
But as far as executing an efficient offense, you could definitely argue Jimmy's better at that. So it's not always about the talent. You have to develop the how to play quarterback, as they
Yeah.
say.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, yeah, you could say that Wentz has the tools, but he just makes he makes Jimmy decisions, but with better tools. Like it's that's all it is. And when we played and we lost to them this past season, it was the only reason why they beat us. I felt was that Wentz could make some throws that Jimmy couldn't make,
Yeah.
and that's really what it came down to.
That
But
game depressed me. Just like Jimmy
oh,
couldn't throw the football in the rain. It looked like the ball was moving in slow motion and just like hitting the dirt. And I was like, can we bench him, please?
yeah, and now I don't think that we're going to have to worry about that next season.
Nope.
Trey is to me, and I don't understand. I do, you know what? I do understand the national media's take on Trey Lance, but I know what they're doing. But regardless of any of it, I think that it's almost helping the 49ers what they're doing, basically downplaying everything that Trey kind of showed us this past season,
Yeah.
and because next season nobody's going to expect it coming and they're not going to see it coming. And Trey, I just feel like Trey is just going to explode onto the scene. What do you
I'm
feel about
super
Trey?
excited. I'm really excited. I will be the first to admit that Trey was not my number one pick when we were at 3. I was a big Fields person.
Hmm.
However, once the pick came in, I was like, hey, this is the guy. I'm gonna learn about him. I watched a lot of film breakdowns. Shout out John Chapman for his awesome film breakdowns. I watched
Hmm.
like all those. And the more I learned about Trey, the more I liked him. And it wasn't just like, hey, you've got a big athletic, 6'4", 225-pound like athlete who's like 20 years old with like a cannon for an arm who can run the ball, but he's also extremely smart, extremely intelligent, really humble, hardworking. Everything that I heard about him was like, you could see the tools, but everything that I heard about why people liked him, it wasn't the tools, especially coming out of like the Niners brass. It sounded like they picked him for the intangibles,
Hmm.
like the leadership, his mind.
Yep.
I think if I remember correctly, like he graduated college early, he graduated high school early. I mean, if I remember correctly, he was a captain on the team as like a freshman, extremely successful that season. He seemed to get better throughout the season.
Hmm.
And then watching last year, it was a bummer that we only got to watch 2.5 games,
Yeah.
basically. But I will say that if you go and you watch those games in order that they happened, you will see improvement throughout the process and like throughout game to game and during the game. Like I felt like when he came in against Seattle in the second half, he was rough, but he got better throughout the game.
Yeah,
trying
for
to,
sure.
win that game. Just like making plays any way that he could. Against the Cardinals, he struggled a little bit. He had the bad pick early on. And then I felt like he was getting better and better. And that was just an ugly game. I think we had
Yeah,
like
all the way around.
there was one like drive where it was like 160 yards of offense and they gained like 12 yards because of all the penalties.
Yeah,
And it's like, how do you expect this kid to win when he like gets a first down, it gets knocked back by a penalty, he gets another first down, it gets knocked back by a penalty.
yeah,
And then he sat for like 2 months, and then I thought he played very well against the Texans. And I know
absolutely.
people are like, "Oh, it's the Texans," but it's still a football team. It's still
Yeah,
an NFL football team, and I thought he played very well. And I think that if you watch the difference between the Arizona game and the Texans game, I think that is what you're seeing is this is how much of a jump this kid can make. And I think that if you go back and rewatch the Texans game, that is a preview into what we're going to start to see next year. So I'm very excited. I
yeah,
can't wait to see how he opens up the field in this offense. And I think
yes,
the mindset with the physical tools, like the person, the brain, and the physical tools, it really excites me. And this is
yeah.
coming from someone who was like, I want Fields.
Yeah, for
So
sure. And I love what you said about the progression between the Arizona game and the Texans game because I felt like that was the main thing has me so excited for this season because if he can make that kind of jump on from one game to the next and even from one half to the next, it's going to be I just feel like the more games he gets under his belt, it's going to be what I saw from him, he doesn't make the same mistake twice. And
mhm.
that's a thing that in my mind Jimmy never learned is he would keep trying to hammer the ball into the same spots even when it wasn't working. And it feels like Trey he grows leaps and bounds in just being able to see what the defense is doing, see what they did on this throw that when he failed, and what to look for on the next snap. So I just think that showing that maturation and be at such a young age, no less, he's playing against grown men and he's really a kid.
He's 21.
Yeah, it's that just tells me and call me crazy, but when he has his interviews, the kid sounds like a vet, and he sounds like he does
Very
phenomenal
mature.
interviews. And so I've always taken that into account when I see what kind of a guy, what kind of a player he's going to be on the field, and will he be able to read defense? Because to me, that shows intelligence, and it shows an ability to talk to your team and to communicate. So I think that is going to be a huge strength of his is being able to communicate what he wants from the rest of the team, and I think it's going to really bode well for him as far as his leadership goes. And all of his teammates seem to love him from all accounts. So
Yeah.
it's I mean, I just don't think that we could have picked better. Justin Fields, when I
Yeah.
just want to comment on Justin Fields real quick. I thought that they were going to pick Justin Fields. I didn't think the pick was going to be
Same.
Lance until the last second, but I thought it was going to be Fields, but I did have and I didn't want to say it too much at the time because people were just getting roasted for saying anything bad about Fields, and but it was what I saw in Fields was that his offense at Ohio State was it was an it was a read and react type of offense. He didn't do a bunch of pre-snap reads, which you have to do in the NFL. A lot of
Yeah.
the time he was just snapping the ball and then now he's looking for the open receiver. And it's too late by
Yeah.
that time. You got 2.5, 3 seconds tops in
Yeah.
the NFL.
Or it was like an option defense where
Yeah.
they would like run a play and it would be up to the receiver based off of the defender. So everything that he would be doing, a lot of the times it was waiting for the receiver to decide whether it was a go route or like a stop
Yeah.
route or they were making a cut, or he would have to read one specific defender. So it wasn't like full field reads as much as it was reading a defender and waiting to see how a specific defender reacted. I think one of the biggest downfalls, or I guess negatives for Fields, it wasn't necessarily that he held the ball on so long, but it was how often pressure got converted into a sack.
Mm,
Um, as much of as an athlete as Justin Fields is, he takes a lot of sacks and he's not elusive in the pocket. Trey Lance, on the other hand, very low percentage of sacks taken versus pressure. He's very elusive in the pocket. So that was another thing why I think you could say that Lance over Fields was kind of that pocket elusiveness, because
yeah.
Fields is faster in a straight line. He might be better on a zone read like a keeper. But I think Trey Lance is a little more better in terms of like pocket awareness and elusiveness.
Yeah, I really hope that I think that really what hurt him in the Arizona game was that Kyle Kyle admittedly didn't really. I don't think he really knew what he wanted to do with him at the time,
Yeah.
and I
It's
think
like
that
QB power,
yeah,
QB power
QB
up the
power,
middle.
just running him into brick walls for like 12 plays, and which ended up getting him hurt.
Here's what we'll
Like,
do. We're going to run right at JJ Watt. All right.
yeah, it just I don't think he knew. And then in the Texans game, he just it was like he gave him Jimmy's game plan, and Trey just was looking to throw the ball downfield. That's just the main difference between him and Jimmy, is that Jimmy is going to take the safe throw in his mind at least. And
Mhm.
Trey is just looking for it looked like he was looking for the open guy, and the open guy would just happen to be deep, and he's
Yeah.
just gonna air it out. So
Which actually is something very interesting that I've noticed about Trey is very aggressive pushing the ball downfield,
yes.
but he's also a very good decision maker. So
Mm-hmm.
he pushes the ball downfield, but he doesn't throw, in my opinion, like dangerous throws out of decisions. I do think that he needs to work on his accuracy. I mean,
Yes.
we've all seen that,
Mm-hmm.
a little bit different mechanics. I heard an analogy of like a pitcher who can throw like a 90-mile-an-hour fastball in high school, but like you don't know where it's going to go because he's got such a strong arm and he needs to like learn how to use it.
Yep.
I think that's Trey. Like he can throw the ball 60, 70, 80 yards like on a line, but sometimes you gotta put touch on it. Sometimes
Yes.
you gotta loft it over, drop it in the bucket. Sometimes you gotta learn how to tighten up the spiral, get it in a more specific spot. But he's very aggressive going downfield and he makes good decisions. He
Mm-hmm.
might not always be accurate, which I think is what he's primarily working on, but he seems to be very good at making decisions and aggressive pushing the ball down the field.
Yeah.
Which is very exciting to me because I mean you can tighten up accuracy. Look at what happened with Josh Allen. Obviously, that's an outlier, but he went from like 50% completion to like 70% completion over the course of 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. And I think you said it perfectly. It's touch. That's really what he's missing. And especially on those, he's going to need it on those short crossers, the little out patterns. He's going to
Yep.
need to hit guys in stride. And that's what he's missing. I think right now he's seeing things just a step late, and he's trusting his cannon to make up the difference. And
Yeah.
that's what shows at least to me. And I think he's going to have another year in the offseason. I know he was working with John Beck. I heard he's working with some other guy right now that he's going to work with. And I think that's what they're going to be working on all offseason. But the people that say that he's not ready, I mean, come on. He's got a whole
Watch the
offseason to
Texans
work.
game.
Yeah.
Watch the Texans game. Watch the All-22. Tell me he's not ready after you
Yeah.
actually watch the All-22 of the Texans game.
But let's say for devil's advocate, let's say that he was not ready right now as we're speaking. And let's say that, but he has a whole off season to work on his technique. He has a whole OTAs, then he has a whole training camp, then he's got a whole preseason to get ready. So
he's also got a George Kittle, a Deebo Samuel,
Yeah.
a Brandon Ayuk,
tons of
one
weapons.
of the best offensive geniuses as his head coach, and a defense that appears like it's going to be a top 10 defense unless something crazy happens, because
Yeah.
D'Amico Ryan seems to be a damn good defensive coordinator. So maybe he's not 100% ready, but if you've got 3 really good offensive weapons, a run game that is masterminded by one of the best in the NFL, and a top 10 defense, like,
Yeah.
oh no.
Yeah, for sure.
At least
I do want
he's
to
probably
show
not going to throw as many picks as Jimmy.
My buddy Brian, of course, like another Brian, but like, yeah, buddy, of course he's a Cowboy fan. So, but of course I'm going to shout him out just because he's putting a comment out there for us. And then we've got
Yep.
CV Niner. It's somebody from New Jersey. So, what up, Niner family?
What up?
And but moving on to Jimmy, where do you see him going now that because as we all saw, and I don't know if we talked about it yet, but Carson Wentz got
Yep.
traded today to the Commanders, and which I don't really, it doesn't really move the needle for me, like as far as playoffs and all that kind of stuff. He played
I think he's an upgrade over Heineke.
well, yeah, he could be. I actually liked Heineke. I thought that Heineke did what he
He's
could in
fun.
that offense. Yeah, he's fun to watch. But I don't see a big difference. I think that Carson Wentz, like we said earlier, has more tools, but I don't see an upgrade as far as like him bringing wins to that team, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I do think that the one thing that Wentz does offer is that he'll allow you to stretch the field more. And, if you have Terry McLaurin there who's really fast, they can get open deep. I mean, at the very least, it'll open up their offense vertically. But I agree. I don't think that that's going to be, it's not going to take them from like a 7-win team to a 14-win team. Maybe they go from a 7-win team to a 10-win team.
Yeah, I can see that.
But the division's so bad, like they'll probably make the playoffs.
That's the thing is because we know that the Cowboys are about to lose Amari Cooper.
Yep.
Um,
Randy Gregory, I've been seeing.
yeah, Randy Gregory. They put Dalton Schultz on. They tagged him, which I didn't understand why you would tag him of all people on that team. But
yeah,
the Cowboys they learned that Cowboys gonna cowboy, and they always find a way to
gotta
mess it
feed
up.
Zeke.
Yeah, that guy. I feel bad for Zeke because I think that he's
making a shitload of money.
he is, but I feel like he gets a bad rap because he's making a shitload of money, and it's not his fault that he was smart enough to get paid.
I got zero problems with that. I just think it shows, bad decision making through like GMs and ownership. Like,
Yeah,
I don't
for sure.
understand how people can still be like, I know that pretty much every year, half of the most successful running backs are like day 3 picks. And every time somebody overpays a running back, they always get hurt and they don't produce at the same level after their rookie contract.
Yeah.
But let's pay this guy a lot of money.
He's going to be different. He's going to be different.
Sure. You
Yeah.
keep saying that as you spend over $10 million in cap on a running back.
Yeah, but with that, like with Wentz being over on now it opens up another place that possibly Jimmy could go to.
Yeah.
With I'm looking at Indy, Pittsburgh. I was looking at Washington, but they're off the table now. And New Orleans.
Yep.
Those are the 3 that everybody seems to think are the biggest possibilities. Where do you see Jimmy, and what, and basically like which do you think is the best fit?
Well, I don't think that he is going to go to New Orleans for the simple reason that I don't think the Niners are going to want to give a team that nearly kicked them out of the playoffs a decent quarterback. Like, remember, if we didn't win that game, the Saints would have been in the playoffs and we would not have. And they were playing the season with Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian. And I think the first month they had Jameis Winston, but after that, I mean, they nearly made the playoffs with Taysom Hill and Trevor Siemian at quarterback and Ian Book. I don't think that Shanahan's going to be like, we're going to give a team that's this consistently good and well coached. Even with Sean Payton gone, that's still a good team. I mean, they could potentially, you put Jimmy on the Saints, I'm pretty sure they win that division and they're going to be competing with Jimmy in the playoffs. And the Saints are a good team. So I don't think that they're going to do that just for competitive advantage. I think they want him in the AFC.
Hmm.
Um, I really like the Steelers. I think that's a good fit. I didn't think the Colts were as good of a fit until they traded Wentz. Now that they traded Wentz, I'm almost leaning towards the Colts simply because the general understanding that I have as to why they got rid of Wentz was because of like leadership and like character and who he was in the locker room and off the field.
Hmm.
And Wentz, by all statistical accounts, had a better season than Jimmy. I think he had like 27 touchdowns and only like 7 or 8 interceptions. You
Hmm.
know, a better season, statistically than Jimmy. And but I mean, if you're saying that you want to bring someone in who's, a steadying force, who has really good character and is a great teammate, Jimmy is your guy. Like,
Yeah.
if there's one thing Jimmy is amazing at, it's just being an incredible teammate and just an awesome dude. I have never heard anybody say anything negative about Jimmy the person.
Yeah.
I mean, we can all talk about, he's got a limited arm. He always throws over the middle, short, check downs, dumb interceptions, but you would never hear a single negative thing about Jimmy the person. Everyone always said, awesome dude, love him, leader of our team. We believe in Jimmy. He gives us hope. He gives us confidence in the huddle. He looks you in the eye, and you know you're going to go win the game. And Jimmy wins a lot of games somehow with that formula.
Yeah.
So I think that if you're getting rid of Wentz because you don't like his leadership, I think Jimmy makes perfect sense. Also, I think the trade capital is now there because now they've got a second. I think what they did was they swapped seconds, got an additional second, got a third, something like that. So they've got a couple picks, and I think that they could spend one or two of those picks, bring in Jimmy. The cap is going to be basically the same. I think Jimmy's like 27, Wentz was 28.
Hmm.
You're not really losing any draft capital because you're, getting a couple for Wentz and you're giving a couple away for Jimmy. So I think it makes a lot of sense. I also like the Steelers. Again, you've got a really good defense, a very professionally run team, with a couple weapons on offense. I think that'd be a good fit too. I just something tells me that the Steelers, it's not that they're cheap. I just don't think that they are going to go all out in a bidding war against the Colts for Jimmy G. I think
Yeah.
that they would rather be frugal with their capital, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So
The
I think either one of those would be a perfect fit. I just think that they'll get more from the Colts, and that might be better fit. Plus, it's a lot easier to win that division.
for
So
sure.
I'm probably
The
leaning Colts right now, but I could see the Steelers too. Or maybe
Yeah.
something weird happens. Maybe it's the Panthers. They decide
Yeah.
to get rid of Sam Darnold because he's never been good. And,
Yeah.
they decide to pick up Jimmy G because that's a solid team.
Yeah.
But yeah,
I look at Pittsburgh, and I think that they're gonna try and upgrade their offensive line, because that's really, to me, that's what that team is missing more than
yep,
anything, is their offensive line. And but they've got a bell cow back. They've got receivers.
yep,
They've got a good young tight end.
yep.
Uh, and I think that that would be a really good fit for Jimmy. Now, what
Really
I
good
don't,
defense, well
yeah,
coached.
yeah, I mean, it's like almost 49ers East, like, but I just feel like they, I just don't think that they really want Jimmy. I think that he's a last resort almost. Like if he's there and the 49ers decide to release him, that they would take him. But I
Yeah,
don't think that they're willing to give up capital for him.
yeah.
Um,
But
and
it's like,
the
who else is there? Like,
and
who are you
Indianapolis,
going to get?
I think Indy is going to be the team. I really do, because they got rid of Wentz for a reason. They didn't get rid of Wentz to go draft somebody. There's only a couple of guys out there. There's Trubisky, and who else?
Mariota,
Yeah, Mariota.
Rod
There that
Taylor.
it just makes sense to bring Jimmy in. I heard the rumors about New Orleans, and the rumor is that they want to trade for Marshawn Lattimore, and
No, they don't.
to just to kind of match salaries and like to get some of the to move some money around, because obviously they couldn't afford Jimmy outright. Like so it's but I just don't, like you said earlier, I don't see the 49ers just making a conference and somebody in their conference better. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
So
Especially a team
I
that's
think it's going to be
consistently
Indy.
competitive.
I think it's going to be Indy. It was going to be Indy or Pittsburgh, but I wouldn't be shocked if it was Pittsburgh, but I think it's going to be Indy. And I think that's where everybody was talking about today. Everybody's just assuming it's going to be Indy now. But like you said, absolutely, could Carolina come in there and just decide, hey, we want Jimmy's leadership and like just all the things that you said about, because you're absolutely right about his leadership ability. And as much as we complain about the decision making and his lack of arm strength and those kind of things, he absolutely, you can't argue with the fact that he wins. And somehow, some way, even though it's probably the rest of the team that is more culpable in those wins, like somebody has to get him there, and the
He can
quarterback
rally the troops.
exactly.
He rallies the troops somehow.
I can't. I can't argue it. I don't understand how it happens. Me and my wife sit there watching the games, and my wife doesn't really know much about football, but she's sitting there saying, why is this guy playing? Why is this guy playing? And I'm just like, it is what it is. He's the best that we've had in forever.
Yeah.
Like
next thing you know, he's doing checkdowns for a friggin' 13 play drive, and we're winning the game somehow.
Yes, somehow.
You're like, what?
Somehow, some way. And but it was fitting the way that our season ended with him whoopsing a ball like behind him, and ended up being a pick. Was it a pick six? I think it was a pick six.
No, they picked it and then he got tackled.
Yeah,
but either way, because they just kneeled it out.
Yeah, I stopped watching as soon as I saw him throw it up that way. I was like, "Oh, that's a pick." I had to walk out of the room.
Yeah,
I was just so furious. But
I just remember it was like 4 drives in a row of just meaning like all we need to do is like have like an 8-minute drive and win the game, and then it was like all we need to do is have a 5-minute drive, scoring drive to win, and okay, all we need now is like a 2-minute drive. Like, all right, Jimmy, you got 1 minute. Where is it?
Yeah, well, we were excited. I think all of us were expecting for him to be inept throughout the game, and then that last drive, we're like, okay, here we go. Yep. Like this is Jimmy time, and then and I mean, it was like he had been the whole season he had been doing that, and this one time he just couldn't, and it helped that Aaron Donald was offsides and that kind of stuff, but we won't get into that.
Yeah. It was weird because Jimmy was like really good in like the middle of the game. It was like he came out slow, had a really good second quarter, and then like an okay first drive of the third, and then it just like fell apart in like the final 20 minutes of that game. But yeah.
My buddy Nate. So I do another podcast, the Odd Couple podcast with Nate, and he never has anything good to say about the 49ers or Jimmy G. It's hilarious, but
that's okay. I mean, Jimmy took us to a Super Bowl and an NFC championship. You don't have to like him, but
and he's a Ram fan. So
yeah, fair enough. Congrats.
Yeah, it is what it is.
See you next season.
He's one of the few Ram fans that I can actually stomach getting a title, like because he's been through all of it. So, but they got so now like
what do you think we can get for Jimmy?
I think that it's going to end up being a third or fourth. I think
it's going to be similar to Wentz.
It could be, but I just don't see how somebody's going to give us that. I know it's minor surgery, but coming off of surgery, teams use excuses, any excuse that they can to lowball. So I feel like it's going to be a third and a fourth that could possibly be a second. Like in this,
I'm okay with that though. I mean,
Yeah,
this
I'm
this
fine with it.
draft
I just want him
is
gone.
so deep on like day 2.
Yeah,
Like there's so many great guys available between like 20 and 100.
yeah. For the 49ers, the later the better, because we struggle. I shouldn't say struggle, but we have our misses are always in the beginning of the draft. So it's the later the better to me. But do what you said it was going to be more of a Wentz deal, right? Like so you thought it was going to be like 2/3.
I don't know exactly. I think the Wentz deal gave us a general idea about what the value is for an average quarterback with a questionable injury history. Um, like Jimmy G and Carson Wentz are kind of the same in that sense, like average quarterbacks with some injuries in the past. I wouldn't be surprised if it was, a third or a fourth this year with a conditional pick next year. Maybe we get lucky and we just get like a second straight up. Like maybe they're just like, hey, here's number 43 that we got from Washington. I would love that.
Yeah, I would definitely
I don't
take
think
that.
we're going to get it. I think we're looking at, a third or fourth rounder and then probably another pick later. But who
Yeah.
knows? I mean, there's a couple of teams out there that really need quarterbacks, and when your options are Jimmy G, Mitch Trubisky, and Marcus Mariota, maybe a bidding war happens and we get lucky. I will say I'm not sure the time frame. I feel pretty confident that a Jimmy deal happens within the next 48 hours. That's
Yeah.
just a hunch. I would feel like it'll happen by this weekend. Um, I think one of the funniest things though was the timing of the Jimmy successful surgery announcement.
Yeah.
Because it was like, whoa, Aaron Rodgers had like this $200 million contract, and then it's like an hour or two later, like Russell Wilson traded, and then like the Niners pop up, hey, Jimmy G had good his shoulders good, the surgery went well, by the way. Since everyone's off the market, Jimmy's shoulders all good. It went
Yeah.
well.
Yeah, no, it's I thought the whole thing was mismanaged, and
Yeah,
I get
just
it that the
weird.
49ers uh the rumor was is that the 49ers were asking him to they didn't want him to have surgery for obvious reasons. I mean, going into a trade, they don't want to tell him that he just got surgery, but then
Yeah,
his team decided to go ahead and get the surgery.
yeah,
But I mean, it's such a minor. They're saying it's a minor thing, and he's gonna be back by training camp. So
yeah. I don't know
um,
what a shoulder capsule is, but it doesn't sound that bad.
somehow there's some new injury that I've never heard of, some part of the
Yeah,
body I've never heard of every single season.
pretty
And
much.
but yeah, I don't know. But the so going into free agency, like who do you think are the main 49ers? Do the 49ers re-sign? Who do you think they re-sign from their free agent class? And who do you think they let walk out of the main guys?
Yeah, so I think Laken Tomlinson is probably the most important guy that you want to keep, and
Mhm.
even if you overpay him, I think it's worth it, especially because we haven't heard anything from Alex Mack. But if he does stick around, that at least solidifies like the left half of the line, which you want for a young quarterback who's developing is a good offensive line.
For sure.
So even if we have to pay, an extra 1 or 2 million a year extra for Lake and Tomlinson, I think it's worth it just for the consistency and just having a good left side of the offensive line for Trey. Um, DJ Jones, I like him. Um, I don't know if he's going to stick around. He might just be too expensive, but you
Mhm.
really never know. I mean, as good as he is, he doesn't get a ton of sacks. He's only had like 2 sacks a season.
Mhm.
And defensive linemen who don't get a lot of sack numbers usually don't get crazy high numbers in terms of
Mhm.
pay. But I mean, if it's more than like 6 million, then it's probably going to be too much for the Niners. Um, Tart, I'd like to bring Tart back on a cheap deal if he'd be interested in coming back on, a cheap deal, vet minimum or with some incentives. There's a big safety market out there, so maybe it's like last year where he just doesn't have a big market and we get him back for cheap. Quan Williams, I'm okay with seeing him walk. Um, I just think he's really good in run support, but he's become a liability and he's over 30 as a corner, which is
Mhm.
difficult. He's also had some injuries, so I like him, but I think that we can either upgrade or stay the same for less and younger.
Mhm.
I'm trying to think if there's any other main ones. Jason Verrett, if he wants to come back again on a really cheap deal, I mean, why not? Um, if he's willing to bet on himself again, if we get him for really cheap and he plays, that's great. If he only costs like 1,000,000 or 2 against the
Yeah,
cap
maybe.
and he's not healthy, then oh well, it's 1 or 2,000,000. It's not a huge number. And the upside is there. Whenever he plays, he's
Mhm.
incredible. Um, I
And
think
then
that's just about
Mostert.
everyone. Am I
There's
missing
Mostert
anyone?
out there. Mostert out there. Like
Yeah, that's another tricky one. I feel like he'd be really good to have on the offense, but I feel like he may have priced himself out,
mhm.
especially with McDaniel going to the Dolphins. I could see them spending, hey Mostert, come over here. We'll give you like 6 million a year
Yeah.
to be because the system and you're an explosive running back.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
I mean, Mostert would be great on the offense, but I think he prices himself out with another team. And I personally am of the belief that you don't pay running backs. You draft them, and I'm always for drafting a running back as long as it's like fifth, sixth, seventh round. Like by all means, draft a running back every year in the sixth or seventh round because you can get your Elijah Mitchells, you can pick up your Matt Breidas, and they're really cheap. You get them on 4 years of a rookie contract, and the system and the blocking matters so much more for running back
Yes.
production than the running back themselves. So I will always be a pro drafting running back person as long as it's fifth round or later. I
Yeah,
think
for
that's when
sure.
you draft them. Pick
Yeah.
one every year. I don't care. Just sixth or seventh or fifth round.
Yeah, so I look at it as, and I agree with you with most of them. I think that Laken Tomlinson is going to be too expensive. Like I just think he's, and like you said with Mike McDaniel going to the Dolphins, I think that their offensive line
Yeah.
is
It's
terrible.
bad. Yeah.
Like so, I just
That
think that
scares
they're
me.
going to throw a bag at him, and because
Yeah.
they have money, they've got
Yep.
money.
They got money, they got a need. So it's gonna be hard.
And
He would be my number one, but it's gonna be hard. He might not. He might go
Yeah, for
there.
sure. DJ Jones, I think that he has the best chance of coming back out of all of them, just because I don't think anybody knows who he is. And I think 49er fans know who he is, but I don't think anybody else know. If you said DJ Jones in a space like a Cowboy space or a Miami space, they wouldn't know who he is. So
Yeah.
it's I think that there's teams out there obviously that know who he is, but I just think his a non like I don't even know how to say that word, but his basically he kind of blends into the background because you've got Eric Armstead right next to him. You've got Javon Kinlaw that's coming back this season. You've got Nick Bosa on that line, and I think that he's one of those unsung heroes that's not going to get all the credit. But I think that exactly what you said, he's going to probably end up getting about 5 to 6 mil. But he does have an injury history. Also, last year was the first time he didn't miss a game,
That's
so I think
true.
they're going to take that into account also. So I'm kind of iffy. I think they might end up paying him 5 to 6 mil to stick around, but I would not be surprised if they let him walk because they've got to do something with Kinlaw, and I think they realize now that Eric Armstead needs to be on the inside.
Yeah.
So
And
it's
you can always pick up a cheap defensive tackle to stuff the
exactly.
run. I mean, there's like 10 of them who are like 30 years old, like 30 to 34. Or draft one. I love Neil Farrell Jr. out of
Okay.
LSU. I watched some film of his, and I mean, he's big. He's bigger than
Yeah.
DJ Jones. He's like 6'4", 330. Like he looks big, but I love him as like a fourth round defensive tackle. If we lose DJ Jones, him in the
Mhm.
fourth or fifth, I think he'd be awesome as just like a same thing. You're looking at a run stuffing nose tackle. So
Yeah.
there's guys out there. I don't think it makes sense to overpay for And I love DJ Jones.
Yeah.
I just don't think it's one of those things you want to overpay.
Yeah. And I think,
Then it's
I,
like, how are we going to pay Bosa and Kinlaw? And I mean, Armstead might need to be like reworked. I mean, how much
yeah,
are we going to
he's
spend on this
probably going to
line?
restructure. He's going to probably
Yeah.
restructure this year because they're going to need to create some cap space to sign all of the other guys. Because they're even with Jimmy leaving, they're only going to end up with like 30 million in cap space. So,
Yep.
but I expect them to free up at least 40 to 45 mil because they basically have like 30 guys to get on the roster.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, like I think that you were talking about Mostert, and I agree with you that I don't think he sticks around. I think that he's going to go to Miami or even the Jets. He could go to the Jets also, just from familiarity. But there might be somebody else, a dark horse team that throws money at him to go. But I don't think he comes back to us because they're going to
How about the
lowball.
Bengals?
49ers are
I
going to
mean,
lowball them.
Bengals, they have a similar kind of running style, you know, with like zone running. They could use some
Yeah.
speed, or I don't know, like how many guys out there who run like a Shanahan / McVay-esque running system who could
There's a
use a
whole bunch
one-cut
now.
speed guy,
Yeah,
like
there's a
half the
whole bunch
NFL?
now. Yeah, there's a whole bunch. So yeah, I just don't see the 49ers bringing him back just because of the
Yeah.
injuries and because they have so many other guys to pay. But then you've got, like you said, K'Wan Williams. I think he's gone. I think that I would be shocked if they brought Jaquiski Tart back because
Yeah.
I just don't think that they're going to want to pay him. I think that
What if he's
they're
cheap?
going to.
What if he's like 2 mil?
I don't think he's going to be that cheap. I think that somebody is going to throw some money at him, whether it be like once again, I'm going to go back to it. Uh, Miami needs a safety. So do the Jets. And I just think that there's a lot of teams out there that could use a solid safety,
Yeah.
and it's even though he has an injury history, I think that it's going to affect his money, but I don't think it's going to affect it enough for the 49ers to bring him back. I think that and you know what? I might be completely off base because last year we were talking about all these guys were probably going to get paid, and then everybody went in and got one year deals. And I
Yeah.
think that
And
we're
like
going to see a
nobody got paid.
similar.
There's a whole
We
bunch
may
of
see a
like,
similar thing this season because the cap doesn't really go up until next season. So we might. I mean, it's possible, but I would like to see them upgrade the position. I think Tart is a serviceable safety, and I think he makes good plays. But I think that they need to get somebody that's more versatile and more ball hawkish, like
yeah.
somebody that can get some turnovers because
I think
the 49ers desperately need turnovers.
I think Justin Reed is a name that the Niners might want to keep an eye on as
Yeah.
just like a talented young safety who's going to be a free agent. I don't think they're going to overpay for who's that Saints one who's really good,
Oh,
Marcus. I can't remember.
I know what you're
Um,
talking about, but yeah, I
yeah,
can't remember
yeah.
his name either.
And
But
again, this is
people
also a
want
really
Bates
good
too,
safety
but I
class.
don't think he's going to be more too expensive.
Yeah, this is a really good safety class. There's a whole bunch of day 2 safeties.
Hmm.
You know, whether you're looking at you know, maybe Brisker falls. I kind of doubt it, but maybe Jaquan Brisker falls. You've got Jalen Petrie, who's kind of like a slot / box safety. Kirby Joseph, Nick Cross.
Yeah,
Like there's some solid safeties who will probably be available in round 2 and round 3 or
yeah.
round 4. So maybe we pick
Petrie
one
is
of
a
them up.
guy that I think his versatility is really what the 49ers would kind of covet
Yeah,
because I look at him and I see more of a Jimmy Ward.
yeah.
And I
I've
think
heard that
having
comp.
two Jimmy Wards on the squad would be huge because today's NFL safeties there's not really I mean they call them box safeties but people really just want guys that can cover and
Yeah,
and having two Jimmy Wards out there that can drop down and cover whoever is it I think that's a good problem to have and
yeah. My
yeah I
girl's
like
about to
Petrie and
walk in,
I
so
love Nick Cross. I think Nick Cross is He's a guy that I've definitely got in all my mocks. But Petrie, I just keep seeing him right now. He's just he might fall to the 49ers at 61, but I feel like he's gonna get taken like at like 50 in the 50 range. So I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah. There's a lot of safeties in this draft. I haven't had a chance to scout them too much specifically, but there's some really good ones.
Yeah, there another name to look out for in free agency is Jaron Curse from the Cowboys.
Oh, I forgot about that. Oh, you gonna get up?
He's a free agent. They can probably get him for like $5 million, $5 million at least for a 1 to 2 year deal. And I think that he is kind of exactly what Tart is, except I think he tackles a little bit better than Jaquaski. So Jaquaski tries to body tackle a lot, which it usually works out in his favor. But I would like to see him wrap up a little bit more. But
I think in general there's a lot of safeties that are going to be available. It's just a question of, are they an upgrade over Tart, and affordability and scheme fit?
Yeah, for sure.
I think we have seen that they're okay with they like having a single high free safety, but I think at the very least you want someone who can do a split safety, play cover 2, play cover 4, play in the box, maybe a little bit of single high, but ideally if you can do cover 2, cover 4 in the box, and then maybe rotate a little bit.
Yeah. What do you
want to take her out? It's been about an hour. Sorry, I gotta show off my adorable little puppy.
Yeah, for sure.
You ready to go outside? Gotta go potty. Yeah.
Go outside?
Yeah.
Go outside.
Sorry, gotta show her off.
No, for sure. Like I would show my dog off, but he would come in here and just rip apart everything. Like
she's a puppy, so we just get her all worn out on walks, and then she likes to snuggle on the couch.
Yeah.
Those vicious little pit bulls, all they just want to do is snuggle with you.
Yeah, I have a rat terrier, and he's
wow,
that's
a ball energy.
Oh my god, I can't even tell you. He is just he can literally. I'm 5'11", almost 6 feet, and he can almost hit my nose just me standing up straight.
Jeez.
So like he's a great dog, but
yeah, she's not there yet, but she's 4.5 months old and about 35 pounds. So we're probably gonna have a strong little puppy.
Yeah, for sure.
The cat was freaking out in the other room. Got all kinds of animals.
Oh, you got a
here.
Cat too?
Yeah, the cat and the dog don't really get along. We're hoping that changes, but yeah.
Yeah, I want to say what's up to my buddy Duffy over there in Nevada. He Bronco fan. Like, congratulations to him,
dude. I will say, the fact that Russell Wilson's no longer with the Seahawks, it'll make it easier to appreciate how good he is. The fact that we don't have to play him twice a year. Like, now I can actually watch the Broncos and enjoy just a fun game and not like, I hate that guy's in our division.
Except for when he plays us.
Well, yeah, but that's going to be one game in the next, one game every 3 or 4 years.
And then my cousin Delila, she's a Bears fan. They all live in Chicago. So
nice. I like Fields.
Yeah, no, they love him. But
nice.
So quickly, quickly about the draft. Like, what are we talked about a few guys about the safety position. Are there any other prospects that you see that are really you think the 49ers should be targeting?
So I love the draft, and I've decided that this year I'm really getting into it. I've got like all 22, and I've been grinding the tape. Unfortunately, I had a whole bunch of videos on my YouTube channel that got taken down because of like copyright for whatever reasons, which I don't understand because it was like college all 22, but
yeah,
I guess they can just like delete all my videos. But I've already scouted probably about 35 or 40 prospects. Were like full games, all 22, every single play of the game. Like, what am I seeing? Are they a fit? I think I have a general list of needs, and I think that I've been kind of putting together my general draft board in terms of who do I like at what point in the draft. Um, if you were to ask me the order at which I think it makes sense to go in the draft, I think the first pick, it makes sense to go edge. The only reason I say that is because there's a couple reasons. First off, we know the Niners like to build through the defensive line.
Mhm.
Bose is about to get really expensive, so it's nice to have some cheap help on the opposite side of him. And this is a really good edge class. There's
Mhm.
probably like 10 or 15 guys that are going to go in the first like 2 or 3 rounds. As far as who is there exactly at the end of the second round, I don't know. But I mean, just some names who could be there. I mean, Nick Benito.
Yeah.
He's 6'3", 245, 250, really good edge rusher. There's Boye Mafe, who everyone
Mhm.
likes. Majai Sanders out of Cincinnati is an edge. Maybe like Kingsley Enagabare, or however you pronounce his name. He's more of like a big end. Arnold Ebiketie out of Penn State. I mean, these are a whole bunch of guys, and that's not even all of them. That's like 4 or 5 guys that I regularly see available in the second round that are
Yeah.
talented defensive ends. So I think realistically, I think it makes sense because you're probably not going to have a chance to get this good of an edge prospect with a day 2 pick next year, I would guess.
Yeah, for
And
sure.
like this is the year to get an edge in day 2. After that, I think you're looking at safety because we could use a starting safety depending on how free agency goes. Um, Corner depth is always good. I like Ambry Thomas. I think he's a borderline NFL starter. He showed some promise, but he's also only going into year 2, so we really don't know. Also, depth. Mosley only is going into last year of his contract.
Mhm.
So we really don't have a whole lot of corner depth. Um, I think we could use I think we've spent a lot of draft capital on the interior of the offensive line. And if we're able to keep Lakin and Mack, I think right tackle makes sense to get. There's a couple right tackles that I think make sense in those kind of mid rounds, round 2, 3, 4, some
Yeah.
right tackles specifically that could maybe kick into right guard. And I've got 5 guys or so just in my head. Um, and then I think when you get later on in the draft, maybe you pick up a tight end, maybe you pick up a really fast receiver. I do like the idea of getting a downfield target just to
Mhm.
stretch the field. Just because Debo's incredible. I really like Ayuk. I think he's a really good separator. He could be a downfield threat. Um, but we also don't have like anyone else receiver wise on the roster under contract. And I'd like to upgrade wide receiver 3, if that makes sense. So I don't think that's like a day 2 pick. Um, but I do think that you can probably pick up a wide receiver 3 on day 3 of the draft. Those are probably my big ones. And then if we lose DJ Jones, maybe you pick up a nose tackle at some point. But I would say edge, then safety. Then you're looking at corner depth, right tackle, a wide receiver 3, roughly in that order, depending on who's there. And we've got a ton of picks. We may or may not get something good for Jimmy. We've got 3 at the end of the 7th. So we'll probably trade up and move around a ton because Lynch likes to trade like 8 times during the draft.
Yeah,
But
no kidding. Like it.
that's that's my short version of what I kind of generally think.
Yeah. So,
And I
yeah,
will
like
be putting up more on the YouTube channel if you guys want to check it out.
yeah, for sure. Like and yeah, make sure that you guys go and check out his podcast, Brian Carter 99. He's on Spotify and Apple Pod. So, and then of course he's going to put some more stuff up on his YouTube. But yeah, like I'm looking at when I look at guys the draft, I'm looking at all my mocks have kind of been I kind of focus on what the needs are and I try to get those knocked out in the early rounds.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really looking towards tackle in the beginning for whatever reason, but I really think that this draft is
Like
really
right
like you were saying,
tackle?
yeah, like a right tackle because like I feel like McGlinchey is not going to be the same
Yeah.
after this injury, and
It's
I
a big
just
question mark.
and we don't know if we want. I don't think that they want to pay him anyway. So, and I think that it would be a good time to bring in somebody that could either take his job from him right away,
Yep.
or even be a developmental guy for next season.
Yep.
But
100%.
I'm really looking at Sean Ryan right now,
Okay.
and I look at Cordell Volson,
I like
and
him. I did a film breakdown. It is up. It didn't get taken down, and
all
he
right,
impressed me.
yeah, I
But
like
yeah.
Cordell Volson. I think he's
Question. When you're looking at right tackle, are you exclusively looking at guys who played right tackle, or are you looking at left tackles and asking them to flip? Because I
uh,
don't trust the idea of flipping tackles. I
I
think it's too risky to ask someone to play a different position.
I don't. I'm not a big fan of flipping. But I think if you can play left tackle, then you can play right tackle.
Yeah.
In because I mean, right tackle is really about the is more geared towards the run game, and and of course you have to pass protect. I mean, that's McGlinchey's soft spot is that he's a great run blocker,
He's
but he's just
inconsistent. Yeah.
inconsistent in the passing. But I look at another guy, Abraham Lucas.
I was gonna say, yeah.
Like I like him too. So, yeah, that and then of course say I
Cade Mays
prioritize.
out of Tennessee. I thought Cade Mays out of Tennessee
Okay,
looked
yeah, yeah,
solid.
yeah, yeah,
There's also Darian Kennard out of Kentucky.
yeah. I
I
looked
also
at him
really
too.
like their center. I forget what his name was.
I know
Fortner,
who you're
Luke
talking about.
Fortner. I really
Yeah,
like the Kentucky center.
yeah.
So yeah,
I'm
there's
looking
some right
at
tackles out there. I've been trying to look at them.
yeah. They and then also I think that we've got to prioritize a center and
Mhm.
like a guard. Like they're probably going to have to start the first season as a guard and then move and then learn next to Mac. I really think Mac is going to come back, but even if he doesn't, I think that they bring in a vet. They're not going to
Yeah,
just draft a guy. So I'm looking at Ryan Jensen, or there's a couple other guys that I think that they could bring in as
yeah.
free agents. But I mean, I'm really targeting Donovan West. I think that he
I've heard
is.
about him. Yeah, I've
I
watched him.
think that he is the guy to go after. But I wouldn't be mad if they got Strong from what is his name? Cade. What is that guy's name? Well, all I have is Donovan West on here, but there was another guy that
From
Javi Vega was
Boston,
pushing.
Lindstrom,
Cole, is it Cole Strong?
Cole Strong, Strange.
Strange, Cole
Okay.
Strange. Yeah, from Chattanooga, I believe.
Hmm.
He really impressed me in the. I guess he really impressed Javi Vega in the Senior Bowl, and
Okay.
so I kind of looked at him a little bit, and he looks pretty solid as like a backup if they can't get Donovan West. But I really like Donovan West. I
I
think
really
that
like Luke Fortner out of Kentucky. I think you should
okay.
watch him. He measured in well, 6'3", 300 pounds, like 33-inch long arms, and similar scheme. They ran a lot of inside zone, a lot of outside zone,
Hmm.
and I will say I think that if you like Donovan West is a lot more of a like agile and nimble center. So if you
Hmm.
want like a nimble center who's quick, who can weave, run out, do screen blocks and things like that, I think he is the guy.
Hmm.
Luke Fortner did not look nearly as like he had as much lateral agility, but I think he had a much better anchor. I thought he had more power, and I thought he was really good at getting to his first block, passing it off, and then getting to the second level. So I watched a full game of his, and I came away very impressed. So I really liked Luke Fortner. I think he's probably third or fourth round kind of consensus range at the
Oh,
moment.
okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
think that's what Donovan West is in
yeah,
that same area. So, but I really I expect him to kind of go. He's every mock that I've done, he's rated down there, but then he ends up going higher
yeah. Like
if I pick him or
rated at
not.
120 and goes at 80 or something like that.
Yeah, because I mean, I just they and I don't know what kind of algorithm they're using, but it's yeah, the mocks just they always seem to pick
They're
him
all
early.
different too. Like the
Yeah,
PFF one is different from the TDN, is different from
yeah.
like the PFN, and I have like 4 or 5 different ones I try just to see what happens in different areas and plug in different ideas. Because it's the
Yeah.
same thing in NFL draft rooms. Like there's 32 different big boards, you know?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're always surprised every season
Yeah.
by somebody picks somebody way earlier than we thought, and then other
And
guys
then how
just
did
don't
that
even
guy
get
fall all
picked.
the way to them?
Yeah, and then other guys
Yeah.
just don't even get picked, and they go undrafted that we thought were going to go in the fourth round, or it's yeah. So it happens all the time. But one of those late round running backs that I was looking at was Ty Chandler
Yeah,
from
me
North
too.
Carolina.
I think I've got a film up of him. I like him. He's
Yeah,
got good
I
speed. I
really
really
like him.
liked him.
Yeah, I really like him, and I like Pierre
Yeah.
Strong. I just think he's going to end up going in that fourth, fifth round
Yeah.
area, and I think that might be too early for the 49ers.
Yeah, I watched a highlight video of his and I wasn't super impressed. And then after seeing him run at the combine, I'm gonna have to go and like rewatch some game film of him because I mean 4.37 speed, and then you look at it and I'm like, did I miss something?
Yeah,
Sometimes you just miss it. So I'm gonna have to
yeah,
go back and recheck on him.
and
He could be a steal in the late round.
it could be that he's just really fast, but he could be like even Elijah Mitchell. Elijah Mitchell is a really fast guy, but he struggled early and even later on in the season from time to time he struggled finding the hole, and
Yeah.
I think that was the best thing about Mostert was that he was so fast and he could hit the hole so fast that it was by the time he got to
They
that
didn't know
second
how to
level it was too
correct
late.
their angle.
Yeah,
He was already past them, and you couldn't get an angle on him.
yeah. So yeah, but I mean, but that's the good thing about speed. But can they teach him to hit the hole, or pick the right hole and when to
Yeah.
use the cutback? So we'll see. But
We got Anthony Lynn, though. Anthony Lynn is going to
yes,
be coaching up the running backs, so I'm excited about that.
and they've got to
Former
do something.
Shanahan scheme running back.
They've got to do something with Trey Sermon. I mean, it's criminal that they spent the draft capital on him, and they're just not doing anything with him. I
Yeah,
get that. I get it that Shanny doesn't really like how he dances and like that kind of stuff, but
yeah,
give the kid a chance to develop.
yeah.
So
I mean, I definitely see the talent. It's just will he fit into the scheme? And so much of NFL is scheme fit.
yeah,
So if he's dancing around waiting for a hole to open, Shanahan's gonna tear his hair out and bench him. And if he just sees a hole and just hits it and uses his talents, then he could be really good. Because I
yeah,
mean,
for
that
sure.
guy can break tackles. He's got vision. It's just you got to be decisive.
Yeah, for sure. My buddy Ronald, what's going on, Ronnie?
What's up?
Um, but anything else about the draft? Like before we get out of here, like any guys that like maybe sleepers that you might think that could really help out the 49ers?
Um, I mean, there's so many like late round guys that it's I think in the late rounds, there's kind of two ways that you can look at it. In the late round, you can either look for a guy who's been super consistent that just doesn't have the measurables, or you're looking for a guy with all the measurables and you're hoping that it works out in a certain way. Um, One thing I really would like the Niners to do is just stretch the field vertically. And I think that adding a true speed threat
Hmm.
uh, just can open things up. Even if you're not going to throw, 60-yard passes to the deep threat guy, the fact that he's out there
Yeah,
and
just the
you're
danger
showing that you're willing to, it opens up everything underneath.
for
If you
sure.
have a guy who runs a sub 4 and he's streaking up, somebody's got to back off. It clears open the middle. And now Ayuk or Debo is catching, a 20-yard dig route and then taking it another 10 or 15 yards. So I want a deep speed threat guy. Bo Melton out
Yeah.
of Rutgers. He really good vertical in addition to a sub 4.4. Danny Gray, he's like 6'1".
Hmm.
He ran like or 6 foot. He ran a sub 4.4. Tyquan Thornton,
That's my guy.
he nearly broke the record. Same
Yeah.
thing. You're talking like 6'1", like tall, long, and really fast. That's a good deep threat.
Side note,
Um,
quick side note about Tyquan Thornton. He actually has pretty decent tape. Eric Crocker did a breakdown
Yeah.
of him, and he just didn't have a quarterback to throw him the ball, but he was
Yeah.
winning. He was winning on a majority of routes, and I think he could be big in the special teams game also. So
I think
yeah.
he single-handedly destroyed my YouTube channel because I had an all 22 of Tyquan Thornton up, and then as soon as he broke the record, I
Yeah.
went from like 20 views to like 200, and then all my videos got taken down in the morning.
Oh,
So I think it's his fault. I
that's
must have
brutal.
he broke the algorithm for me. But yeah, no, same thing. I liked him, and then Velus Jones Jr. also
Okay.
speed guy. You're talking sub 4.4 speed. And all these guys, it's like it's not that they're necessarily like polished receivers. They each
Mhm.
have their issues. Bo Melton, he has a small catch radius, even though he's not that small. Danny Gray is really fast, but he had a high drop rate.
Yeah.
Tyquan Thornton just was never targeted. Velus Jones wasn't the best route runner. He couldn't get open all that much. So they used him more of a gadget way. But again, you're talking a number 3, a number 4 guy, just speed threat, clear things up, and maybe he gets 2 or 3 deep targets per game. That's really all that I'm looking for. And I think that any one of those guys that I listed could be available in the 5th or 6th or 7th round.
Yeah.
And at that point, like, why not get a sub 4.4 speed guy who can help you stretch the field? Because I don't see anybody mocking those guys in like day 2. They're not considered high prospects, but
Yeah.
they've got the speed and they've shown ability. That doesn't necessarily mean that they'll be great NFL receivers, but I mean, Marquise Goodwin, like Travis Benjamin, like Shanahan likes to have a speed guy.
Yeah.
Why not go get one of them with a late pick?
And the reality is do we need him to be great? We don't need him to be
No.
great. Like
No.
we've
Just
got
stretch the
Debo and
field,
Ayuk and
2 or
Kittle
3
and all
targets,
these guys, and
maybe some returns.
even Jennings. Like, but because I think he's gonna make a jump this season. But you've got these guys, and so all we really need you to do is stretch the field and catch the wide open broken coverage.
Yeah.
That's
Like,
that's
hey,
really
guess
all we
what?
need.
You're wide open 60 yards downfield. Trey can get it to you. Just catch
Exactly.
it.
That's all we need from you. But
Yep.
man, it's been great having you on today. Like I hope you enjoyed yourself as much as I did.
I did. I'm always talking football with people. That's why I started a podcast and a YouTube, is because I was annoying my girlfriend and she's like, you need an outlet.
Yeah.
You don't shut up.
I don't
Yeah,
know
no.
what you're saying.
Yeah. She's like, I don't understand, but I approve and I support you.
Yeah. So yeah, it's just a good time. Like I love talking 49ers. I love talking football. And yeah, like man, I'd love to have you back, especially after the draft. Like we might talk about some of these guys we were talking about.
Yeah.
And
More
but
film.
yeah, make sure everybody that you check out once again Brian Carter 99 on Apple. You said Spotify too, right?
Yeah, I'm on both of them. Trying to point at my
And
name down here.
yeah. And on and he's gonna have more content on YouTube. So make sure that you guys go out and check out his content. But like I said, once again, great having you on, brother. Thank you guys all for listening today and watching, and thank you guys for commenting and giving us the likes today. So, but yeah, thanks everybody for watching, and I'll be back next Wednesday. And actually, I may not be back next Wednesday because I'll be out of town in Florida. I'm gonna try and do a pod while I'm out there, but I can't guarantee anything. But I will be back. So, but thank you guys all, and once again, go Niners.
Go Niners.